It's Jordan Mulligan from the Mulliganbrothers, and today's interview highlight is with Dr. Samantha Boardman. And this is really exciting for me because I think we're sharing a piece of a story that is something different than we would usually do, and I think it's really applicable, and we've had a lot of messages requesting this. And it's how Samantha Boardman got into medical school and going through the whole process that so many people who watch this channel, funnily enough, are also going through, whether it's different education, but we do have a lot of people who are also in medical school. So this is a really interesting video for you guys. Today's video was brought to us by Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can buy the t-shirts and the journal. But before that, let's jump into this amazing highlights from Dr. Samantha Boardman.
How did you get to the point of going to medical school? What was the decision? Was it something that you were always passionate about?
Absolutely. I loved science, and I loved the humanities, and medicine was where the two collided. You know, and I think I went initially sort of with starry eyes into how can I serve and help the world. And especially though in psychiatry, it's sort of, you funnel down into this much more narrow focus of how many milligrams should I prescribe? You know, how can I sort of treat this illness? And I've really expanded now about how I think about physical health and mental health. And I think there is no health without mental health. And that's something that, as a positive psychiatrist, that I really focus on embodied health. What are the, you know, as a psychiatrist, traditionally, you focus on what's going on in somebody's head, how their thinking is, you know, their thinking processes are what matter. And I've really learned to expand the way I think also about the body. Traditionally in medical school and in psychiatry residency, you know, we don't spend a lot of time asking how much physical activity somebody gets. We don't spend that much time about asking how much sleep somebody gets unless it's a problem, then it comes up. And we don't, you know, spend much time asking about the food they consume unless it's an issue, if they have an eating disorder. And understanding now how much your body actually affects how you feel has really shaped how I view, you know, my patients too. And it's become such, you know, a critical part of treatment is embodied health. How much time do they spend outdoors? You know, and I think most patients will also tell you they love, you know, they wish their therapist would discuss more with them ways they could get to the gym. So I literally prescribe that these days. And I think it's as valuable, if not more valuable, than medicine. And we see, I had a patient a while ago who he had always been a runner. He'd run marathons. He'd always been really, really active. And that was sort of part of his self-concept, his self-definition. He loved to run. And he had to have knee surgery. And he had come to see me because his wife was complaining, and he was too, he was just irritable. He was lethargic, really hard to get along with, and having a hard time. And it turned out he had had knee surgery about 4 months earlier, and he hadn't been active. And he had been, you know, a couch potato and not obviously getting his typical amount of sort of getting his heart rate up and feeling strong. And it was clear to me that when he spoke about his early years, he said, well, I always liked, you know, when I was about 16 or 17, I started running, and it kind of cleared my head. And he felt that it also helped him concentrate. And from what I could tell, he had been self-medicating all these years with exercise. And suddenly it had been removed from his life. So I literally prescribed swimming. He started, you know, he went into the pool. He was reluctant at first, not really making the connection. But after about a week or two of swimming, his wife was the one who noticed, like, this is so much better now. And I think he really was craving it. And for so long, he had used this tool of running. I mean, yes, it made him physically feel good, but it was also treating him, his mental health, and was really critical for his mental health.
Is it possible to self-diagnose? Is it something that we can find ourselves through the idea that we're not exercising, but there's something wrong? Or do we need to seek professional help when we're looking for that kind of thing?
It's a great question, or way to think about it. If you're feeling down, no matter what, physical activity will help you feel stronger. So, but I do think if you want to maybe explore it more, you're feeling that you need to talk to somebody, or you're feeling so down that it's really interrupting your life somehow, and disrupting your relationships, or you're unable to do the work you typically do, then I definitely recommend seeing somebody to get a clearer diagnosis about how you feel, and also about what you can do. I think so much of psychiatry and psychology focuses on just what's going on in your head, and actually we've really got to focus on what's going on in your body, because that, how your body's feeling, also then shapes how you experience the world, right? When you are feeling exhausted, or you're just, you haven't moved around at all, you've taken 500 steps that day, and something irritates you, there's something, sort of some hassle, you're much more likely to turn that molehill into a mountain. There's physical activity performs this sort of, has a buffering effect, right? So it enables us to sort of feel strong. So in those moments of sort of a potential irritant, a potential hassle doesn't have to become one. And I think we kind of create this scaffolding around us when we get that physical activity that our bodies crave. And, we know even in schools and for students, and I think for adults as well, that kids who walk to school or physically get to school, if they skip to school or take a bike to school, are much less likely to have symptoms of ADHD, as seen by their teachers, and that critical need to move their bodies. And I think that really also helps them focus and concentrate. And a lot of schools just say, like, oh, that's icing on the cake, that's not really that important. And it's vital, actually. And that we're always sort of leapfrogging over the value of exercise, of getting your heart rate up, and that it protects us and it facilitates mental strength as well. So I'm a big believer in kids walking to schools, and I know they're in some places in America, they're doing walking school buses. And I always try to get my kids too to go through the park in the morning, and I'd rather wake up a little earlier to do that and make sure they skateboard to school or get some physical movement into their day. And they're also going to sleep better, they're going to perform better in school. And this isn't just for kids, it's for adults as well.
Is it all about getting the heart rate up? Is it because the other thing is, like, when you talk about that, is like getting in touch with nature as well for the mental health and getting outside. Is there a combination, or are we simply looking for heart rate? I
think we all have nature deficit disorder, that we do not spend enough time outdoors. And I think the average person spends less than 4 hours a week outside. And before you say, oh, not me, I bet I spend much more, when you sort of count up those hours, like, oh, okay, if you're in a car and out of the car, that we don't spend enough time in green space. And there's studies that show that just letting your eyes rest on a tree, it decreases rumination. And rumination is that ticker tape in our mind of ongoing thoughts, self-criticism. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? And sort of that rehashing over and over and over again, that can be an on-ramp to depression. being outdoors in a park, near a tree, that interrupts it. And it's really sort of forest bathing is the way the Japanese describe it. And it's a cure, I mean, I think, for a nature deficit disorder. And so I do prescribe going to the park, and even better than going to the park by yourself is going with someone else. You know, and there's studies that show that mothers and daughters who go to a park together, instead of going shopping together, will have sort of warmer feelings about each other. They're much less likely to argue for the following week than if they went to the mall. And even, you know, looking at studies of physical like interventions that help people feel mentally strong, you know, it's typically playing soccer, tennis, doing something that's in tandem with somebody else. That, you know, exercising alone is great. Exercising with someone else outdoors is even better.
And there you go. If you are getting into medical school, or even if you are trying to go through university or college, this is some great information from Samantha. Her social media is linked down below. It was such a great time chatting to her, so I want to say thank you for her time. Hopefully we get to do this again in person. And all of this has been made possible by your support at mulliganbrothers.com, where you can buy the t-shirts, the journal. It helps us further aid our mission of inspiring change around the world. So thank you very much to everybody who has supported us. There's also a join button down below to become a YouTube channel member, and it just helps support as well. So thank you very much. If you want to follow me on social media, it's at Jordan Mulligan Brother on Instagram. Come and say hello and see what I get up to on a day-to-day basis. But take this message, take what you've learned, take your own story, share it with somebody else, go inspire somebody else so they can pass it on and inspire somebody else. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.